Bay School. I'm Esme Krummel and I'm a senior. Today I'd like to talk to you about my experience with Pilates, self-love, and self-acceptance during my time at Bay. I've been so excited to give a morning meeting like this for so long, and I feel like it will give some closure to this crazy year. Most of all, it feels wonderful to be embracing and sharing my experience with you all. So what is Pilates? Pilates is an individual, whole-body sport that helps you to do other sports. It focuses on self-care and supporting you by strengthening, stretching, and stabilizing your muscles. The photo here shows a reformer, a Pilates machine that helps to strengthen muscles. But because I only started Pilates a few months before shelter in place, I'm more drawn to the simpler equipment I use in my Zoom Pilates class. Simpler tools also have more uses than larger studio machines and foster more independence. For example, this photo shows the many ways to use a foam roller to elongate your leg muscles so you can exercise them more fully later. You can also lie on it to improve posture after sitting at a computer, which feels fantastic over Zoom school. So why am I giving a morning meeting on Pilates? I was born with a neuromuscular condition, mild cerebellar dysfunction, which affects my muscular coordination and my body's ability to use energy efficiently. My parents raised me to believe that my difference wouldn't limit me, thus fostering my persistence. But it has also made certain endeavors challenging. For example, I've always had trouble walking. When I started walking at age 1.5, my feet turned in, I walked on my tiptoes, and I held my arms out for balance. As a kid, I was always tripping and scraping my knees. I also have a hand tremor, which makes technical activities like handwriting challenging, and I'm a slower reader. I didn't start reading chapter books until 3rd grade when my eye doctor found out that I can't see at any distance. My difference also affects my eye muscles. I don't have binocular vision, and my eyes don't track together or quickly. Thus, getting hit in the face with baseballs taught me that it might be impossible to become the first woman to play Major League Baseball. Throughout my childhood, my mom took me to around 10 different interventions to help with my physical difference. The images here are of my least favorite intervention, a local university's gait clinic. It was a day-long procedure that yielded no results and left my leg hurting as they put a wire in it. While other interventions improved my coordination, they also made me pessimistic about overcoming my challenges. I never learned how to connect my brain with my muscles. I also wasn't ready to learn. One of the reasons I wasn't ready was because I didn't feel safe with my difference in my K-8 school. My class was only 20 students, and none of us were taught to use sensitive and inclusive language around physical differences. In addition, my teachers didn't have the support or resources that Bay provides to help students who didn't fit into a normative mold. So in this type of school environment, I felt like there was something wrong with me, rather than that I needed more support. The situation was exacerbated in middle school when I was bullied by girls who physically targeted and isolated me for my lack of coordination. My school didn't have an anti-bullying policy, so I was blamed for being overly sensitive, upset, and anxious. These classmates even bullied me for proudly coming to school in my Bay sweatshirt. But one good thing came out of this experience. My Spanish teacher became a friend and ally, teaching me to write daily gratitude lists. As shown here, he gave my speech at graduation, which remains my best memory from that school. Throughout high school, I've held the lessons she taught me, gratitude and optimism, close to my heart, and they proved a priceless tool. I share this experience because it, along with the fact that my parents separated the weekend before I started high school, contextualized who I was when I started at Bay. As a freshman, my self-acceptance hinged on what I hoped to gain from high school: friends, good grades, and avoiding being a problem to my school community or struggling family. When I wrote in my journal that year, I almost always started my entries with, Don't worry, I'm doing well. I have good grades and still have friends. I never talked about my physical difference. I avoided it as the more I tried to learn about it, the lonely I felt due to how uncommon it is. This coping strategy never felt ideal, but for a while made things seem manageable and helped me feel safer and more in control. By the time I became a junior, though, I knew I wasn't happy repressing emotions in who I was. I wanted to become more open with myself and others about my difference. However, I had several obstacles to overcome. For starters, I still thought my needs were less important than my commitments to friends, family, academics, and extracurriculars. I was stressed and didn't understand self-care yet, so I wasn't sleeping, eating, or exercising enough. Because of this, my coordination and physical difference became more of a struggle. Additionally, by trying to fit in, which I defined as having one pair of glasses rather than the three I needed to see at different distances, my eyes ached and tired easily, my reading slowed, and eventually my glasses gave me vertigo. It took me a while to realize the glasses were the problem and not me. As the year progressed, with nothing seeming to help these challenges, my anxiety got worse, further negatively affecting my sleep. It was a downward spiral of frustration, loneliness, self-blame, and eventually, fully running out of energy to do my schoolwork, but still trying to do it anyway. But I'm proud of how I took advantage of this very challenging time in my life and stopped the downward spiral. I realized that my lifestyle had to change and that I was responsible for changing it. I have Bay to thank for this, as Bay accepted me because before I was able to love myself. Rather than being labeled a mess at my middle school, Bay taught me that being vulnerable and asking for help are strengths. And I realized something crucial, that being seen as who I am is better than how I always imagined fitting in to be. Because of my revelations, I became more open to support and connected more deeply with my community. For example, when I told my friends about my glasses situation, we had my favorite lunch period at Bay ever. We drew possible ways to engineer a single glasses-like mechanism to handle 3 prescriptions on a whiteboard in the library. Who knows? Maybe I'll actually engineer these someday. Anyway, looking back in this nostalgic way I do to now in quarantine, that difficult junior year now feels like one of the most meaningful years of my life. That year, I also honed in on old and new passions, including biology from my Bio 1 class, creative writing from restarting Litzine, and starting Pilates. So when my mom suggested Pilates, I agreed because I finally accepted I needed more support for my physical difference. Pilates was the first intervention I chose on my own accord and felt ready to embrace. It was also revolutionary because it helped me shed my pessimism about my abilities and realize I can change physical habits I thought I was stuck with for good. Doing Pilates has been challenging, but worth it. In the short term, I find it exhausting, feel drained after a 1-hour lesson, and am usually sore. In the long term, however, it's been priceless. I can now walk without my feet turning in, almost do a proper squat, and write better without having to support my writing hand, and do small technical biology labs at home without getting drained or spilling things. Additionally, I now find cooking and driving much less stressful. Prior to starting Pilates, I'd always deemed my differences unchangeable. But these days, I'm regularly surprised by things I suddenly find myself able to do. And since I've accomplished all this in just 1 year, imagine what I can do in the long term. So today, my ideal self-acceptance looks like this: trying to be authentic, regularly communicating with others about my difference, prioritizing self-care, and remembering self-compassion by treating myself like I would a good friend. But I'm not quite there yet. I'm still too hard on myself sometimes, such as expecting my physical difference to improve too quickly from Pilates. This isn't realistic, as my physical difference isn't a linear journey and can be affected by things outside of my control. I've learned this recently as I've lost track of my own self-care again, trying to help my mom, who's been fighting breast cancer. Don't worry, she has a good prognosis. Just wanted to mention that. This, in addition to quarantine, senior year schoolwork, returning to Bay, and transitioning to college, has been a lot to manage and made it easier for me to hide struggles I still have with my physical difference and to feel alone again. A few weeks ago, for example, I ran out of energy again to the point where I couldn't attend a class and my spirits sunk. There you go, I'm not hiding anymore. Luckily, since spring break, I've realized that taking care of myself is still taking care of my mom. This has lifted my spirits, along with working on this morning meeting, my excitement to go back to Bay, and my improved energy levels, well, for now at least. Now I'm ready to embrace my future and love myself no matter how I'm doing with my physical difference. I also hope my self-acceptance will continue to grow as I meet more people with similar differences to mine. I've met 2 people in the last year who have similar differences to me, but still sometimes feel alone in knowing what I need. Luckily, I have a few ways to do this. In the near future, I'm getting some of my writing published, an adaptation of a college essay about a combined biology and Pilates class I'd like to teach. My Pilates instructor's mentor wants to publish it in one of the biggest Pilates newsletters worldwide. I'm so excited to inspire more young people to do Pilates and learn to love themselves by connecting to their bodies. I also hope this article may help me connect with others who have similar differences to mine. Also, several of the colleges I'm looking at have affinity groups that include people with similar differences, which I'm super excited to join. Now, I know I may not convince all of you to start doing Pilates, but I want to leave you with something that can apply to everyone here. You have to fully love and accept every part of yourself in order to heal yourself. No one can do that for you. Thank you, and here are my acknowledgments.